In this third video of the CLAM demonstration series, we will take a closer look at the parameters and the metadata abilities of CLAM. We use our web service which we have created in the first and second videos. So we grab our text editor and we take a look at the service configuration file of our frequency list service. Let's expand this window. Okay. In the input template we have one parameter, which is a static parameter. This is nicely reflected in the interface, which we can show. Let's start the web service. Okay, the web service is started. Let's navigate to, let's create a small project. Okay. The parameter you see here is reflected in what you see when you select first what kind of input template you desire. Then you see here that this static parameter has been static parameter shows. We can't change the value because this one is static. But there are various kinds of parameters. We have parameters with drop-down menus like this. Those are the so-called choice parameters. We have an example of this in our own global parameters section, which we defined below here. Here we have two choices. This is a choice parameter with two choices, and this reflects in a simple drop-down box. Alternatively, we have Boolean parameters, such as the example here, which reflects in a small checkbox, and we have string parameters, which are free fill fields, and there's also the integer parameter, which is also a free fill field, but only for numbers, integer numbers. So there are different kind of parameters. They can be used in the global parameter section, which will show them here in the global section, or they can be local metadata associated with certain input templates, and then they will show after you have selected the input template you desire for upload. Okay, we can add something here. Not here. Here, for example. Let's add a parameter which is already commented here. A choice parameter language. So this allows the user to specify the language the text is in. We here give the user three options: English, Dutch and French. As you see here, the choices here are two tuples, with the first value being the internal value, what the system uses, and the second is only what the end user will see. So this will be shown in the interface, but internally this will always be used. So as soon as the user uploads a certain file and indicates that the file is in English, then there will be metadata associated with that file. The language field in the metadata will be set to the value EN for English. Similarly, the encoding will be set to ASCII, as this was static and unchangeable. Okay, we can show that this has effect by restarting our web service. Oh, let's see where it is. The window is hidden behind here. Okay, let's restart our web service. We refresh this page, and we select the tokenized text input file, and now we see we have indeed an extra parameter here. So this is an extra metadata parameter. Now we can propagate the metadata parameters from the input templates to the output templates, because with output templates we also have associated metadata, and what profiles do is they define the relation between the metadata in the input templates and the metadata in the output templates. Okay, what we're going to do now is we are going to expand our web service, because that will allow me to better show the abilities of the metadata. We are going to add another output template. Currently we have one input template in which multiple files can be uploaded. So So we can add multiple tokenized text input files, and out of all these files, one single frequency list is created, combined over all files. What we are going to do now is we are going to adapt the servers to create one frequency list for each uploaded file, and in addition to that we want one combined frequency list. So basically what we have already is the combined frequency list, so we just rename that. We can rename the ID as well, combined frequency list. We copy this and we make another output template, which is the individual frequency list. Okay, let's call it document frequency list. I'll call it doc frequency list here as well. Okay, since this is going to be outputted for each of the input templates, we set multi is true. The system can itself figure out that there is a relation between this output template and this output template, because they are the only ones that are both multi is true. You can make this explicit for CLAM by adding a parameter like parent equals and then the ID of this. Then the system knows exactly what the parent is. If not, it will try to find this out automatically, and usually for simple situations it does so perfectly. Okay, now I can show better the abilities of the metadata. We added the choice parameter here to indicate the language, and we have a static parameter. We can now inherit these from the input template. We can inherit, instead of setting a meta field statically, like here, we just set the metadata encoding to ASCII for the output template, but now we are going to rely on what the input template said. So we use a copy meta field. Encoding is the name of the metadata for the output template, and here we specify the source. Toc input is the input template. We add that here, and this is the syntax for denoting the field to copy. So tokenized input encoding refers to this metadata field. So the value of this field will be copied for the output template. We can do the same for the language. We add a language field and we copy whatever the user filled in for language. So in this way we can have documents in English, Dutch and French mixed in any kind of order, and the resulting frequency list will have the right metadata. Okay, there is of course still an error here. We specified a fixed file name here, but that is something that we cannot do here, because we set multi as true. We cannot just have a single file name, so we need to use the extension syntax here. In this way we inherit the name from the parent. This was the parent, and we append the extension frequency list. There is also an alternative option. If we do want a kind of fixed file name, we can insert a sequence number. You can add variables in your file names, and you do so as such. For example, this is just an example. We have some kind of fixed name, blah, and we add a sequence number. So now you will get blah 1, blah 2, blah 3 for each of the uploaded files. Okay, in this case the most elegant solution is simply to add an extension, but the fixed option was something I wanted to mention. Okay, so now we're done with the service configuration file, and we can go adapt our wrapper to the new situation. Okay, we're going to adapt the wrapper script. We open it in the wrappers directory, frequency list wrapper. Okay. Alright, now things are a little bit more complicated, because here we run our command only once, but now we need to run it once for each of the input files we have, because we want a specific file, a specific frequency list file for each of them. So let's copy this here. Okay, this is the document frequency list, the file name for the document frequency list, where we inherit the name, the file name of the input file. That's what we did here, and we add the extension frequency list. This is in accordance with what we specified in the service configuration file. Oh, and this is a typo. Okay, here we add this, and here we can work on only the current input file path. Okay, well, actually this should already do it. We added an extra command for each file. So for each file, a frequency list will be generated, and at the end one will be generated overall for all files. Now we will take a look at the service again to see all this in action. So we move away our editor, and we restart our CLAM service in the usual fashion. Okay, we go to our browser and we refresh the page. I'm already in a project here, test project. So what we'll do now is we go through the drill again, and we add some input files. Here we see our language box. We select English because our Hamlet file is in English, and this is what we're going to add: working directory input, our piece of Hamlet, and then we add another file using the live editor, a Dutch file, for example. Dit is een test in het Nederlands. Right, we say that this is a tokenized text input file, and this is in Dutch. The resultant file name is Dutch test. We add it to the input files, and we see we have two files here. Okay. Next, we start the system. And we will then observe that when it's done in a few seconds, we see we have a frequency list for our Dutch text input file, which was very short. Dit is een test in the Netherlands. And we have one for Hamlet, input text frequency list. And in addition, we have our combined frequency list, containing the frequencies of all words. We see that the templates, the associated output templates are stated here: document frequency list versus combined frequency list. Now we can take a look at the metadata, actually, because CLAM associates metadata with everything, and it writes this in a neat XML file. So let's take a look at the Dutch file, for example. Let's look at the metadata. This is in an XML format. Okay, here we see the important fields are these above. These fields above. They are the language and the encoding. Encoding was set to ASCII, and language is set to Dutch, both inherited from the input template. This other part of the metadata is the provenance data, which exactly states what data went into the system to produce this. So we leave that out of consideration for now. We can take a look at the metadata of the combined frequency list. Remember that here we did not specify a language. I can show that here. Frequency list. See, this is the output template for the combined frequency list, and there's only the encoding, which is set statically. And this is exactly what we see here. We see that the encoding is set and no language field. So this kind of shows how metadata works in CLAM. It takes care of all metadata inheritance for you. You just specify in your profiles how exactly you want the relations to be, and the metadata will be generated for you automatically This does not happen within your wrapper script, but all is all done outside of your wrapper script. Okay, this concludes this CLAM presentation.